host, Renee Kranz. In the studio with me today, I have a newly ordained priest, Father Mitchell McLaughlin. Welcome, Father Mitchell.
Thank you. Thank you.
I'm so glad you could stop by. It's been like a month
Yes, it has.
since you were ordained, but this was the soonest you could get in to see us and tell your story. So I'm really glad you did, because you're moving to Aberdeen tomorrow.
Yes, tomorrow. Very soon.
He's been packing and loading cars in this heat, so he's probably happy to be in a cool studio for a minute.
Yep.
Well, thanks for coming by. So today we are going to talk to Father Mitchell about how he got his call to be a priest, and what ordination was like, and what he's looking forward to going into the future. So let's just jump right in, if that's okay.
Yes.
Father Mitchell, will you tell us a little bit about yourself, your family, where you grew up, those kinds of things, please?
Yeah, so maybe comparing myself to other priests and seminarians of the Diocese of Sioux Falls, I'm a little bit of an oddball that I grew up in the Quad Cities, Iowa.
Oh, okay.
So I'm not local in that sense. And I guess my family history, I have my mom is a dental hygienist. My dad is retired now, but works for John Deere.
Okay.
And I have an older and younger brother. They both have been there, starting their career paths. My older brother is an Army doctor, Army psychiatrist.
Wow.
He's going to move to Fort Bliss. Really proud of him.
Yeah.
And my younger brother he does like research in genetics.
Oh, wow.
At Iowa State. So they're both.
You've got some smart guys in your family.
Yes.
I assume including yourself.
I'm the least. I'm more of the artsy kind of
Now
brain.
stop it.
Yeah, no. They're into the sciences.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. So you grew up in Iowa. What was growing up there like?
It was good. We were kind of a normal Catholic family. We would go to mass on the weekends. I went to Catholic grade school through 8th grade, but then moved to public high school. But yeah, I was very thankful of just my upbringing and how, yeah.
Yeah. So a city kid. Well,
yes, a
city as far as Iowa
city
goes.
slicker, yep. Yep. And,
Actually, lived in Iowa for 3 years in
Really?
Ames.
Oh,
yeah,
okay,
while my husband
okay.
was going to school. So
Sure, yeah.
a little familiar with Iowa, not a lot, but we'll take you. We'll take you
Thank
here.
you. Yes, I'm very glad to be here.
Yeah, good. So when you were growing up, did you have a plan for your life? Like, was there something you wanted to be besides well, maybe you did want to be a fireman, but I think every little boy does.
When I was a little boy, I wanted to be an orthopedic surgeon. I had a grandpa.
That's very specific.
Yes, yeah. I like bones and stuff.
Okay.
But I like the sciences, and so part of my story was what brought me to South Dakota was looking for a place that had medical laboratory science.
Oh.
I was into the sciences and wanted to do lab work and stuff. And USD, University of South Dakota, had that.
Yeah.
But then, yeah, I definitely had a plan for my own life, but it was kind of my own plan, and God wasn't in the picture quite yet.
You hadn't asked him yet.
I hadn't asked him yet. That's right.
All right. So now you were about to say something about a grandfather. Is that how you were inspired to do the orthopedic?
Yes. Yeah. He was a doctor.
Okay.
Yeah, he was a doctor himself, and kind of a classic doctor, would make house visits and
Oh, cool.
everything in between. So,
Cool. It's really nice when you can be inspired by a family member like that to do
Yes.
that kind of thing, even though you didn't do it, but you know. Okay. So you came to South Dakota. How long ago was that?
About 10 years
Okay.
now.
It's been a while.
Yeah.
Did you go all the way through school, or did you
I
get
did
part
not.
way?
I
Okay.
had quite the circuitous route, or long way to
Okay.
to seminary.
So tell us.
Yeah. So I, just the educational history. I wanted to do medical laboratory science. Did that for about a year and one semester, but I quickly found that I wasn't enjoying the classes. I was falling asleep in the afternoon classes.
Oh no. Well, I had that problem too.
Yep. But at that time, just growing in my faith at the Newman Center, very much, I started to ask, what does God want me to do? And then I moved, changed my major to education.
Okay.
I wanted to be a high school teacher of English, and then was in that for a semester, and then I said,
You're
it's
like,
not quite it, and I prefer more like the classical modes of teaching, and very much enjoyed the liberal arts. But then I was like, well, okay, that was for a semester, and there's time I'm still kind of maybe hearing God's call, but so I was like, okay, I'm not quite ready to go to seminary yet, but then I'll do 1 year, give 1 year for English and studied English for a year, and then I entered seminary, and so then it's all from there: philosophy, Catholic studies, and then eventually theology. So,
Right.
Yeah.
So was there you said the Newman Center was a place you were
Yes.
going. Was there a particular priest that was inspiring you at all?
Yes. Yeah. So there was two priests there at my time. First, it was Father Scott Trainer. That was my first year, my freshman year, and his last year. But he was, he's an amazing priest, very, very gifted. And but then he left. And then another great priest, Father Jeff Norfolk, entered
yes.
in, and he became my spiritual director there, and we've kind of kept it up ever since. And he'll be my spiritual director going into the priesthood.
Yeah. So I don't know you very well, but you seem to have maybe a similar personality to Father Norfolk.
Oh, sure, I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
When I met him and I started, discerning the priesthood, I thought I could be a priest like him, and I want to be a priest like him.
Yes.
Yeah.
He's a fantastic priest. And Father Trainer is a good one to have. Of course, he's in the building all the time, so
Yes.
we get much exposure to Father Trainer. But he is so gifted in his language and just distilling an idea down to something that people can understand.
Yes.
I mean, it's very inspiring to be able to talk to him sometimes. So sometimes, maybe not all the time, but don't tell Father Trainer I said that.
Yeah. Don't.
Okay, so was there a particular moment that happened that you heard the call for priesthood?
There was. It was, in fact, my freshman year on break. I went to, if you know, the Focus, the Fellowship of Catholic University Students. I went to their Seek conference. I think the first one that they had, kind of officially all across the nation, that was in Orlando, Florida. So it was a good selling point. Many great talks. But
Right.
the one thing that stuck out to me that kept with me was seeing all the priests at Mass, all the priests and even a few bishops there, and like that stuck in my head, and it's like I just kept on replaying that. Like, why am I thinking about this? So that was like God's grace, like the initial, like just putting that on my mind, thinking about the priesthood. And at first, though, I was like, oh, okay, that's a neat idea, but I have what I want to do. I have my own plan set, but I'll think about that later.
Right.
So I kind of ran away from the call for a while.
Was there fear in that moment? Like, was there, or was it just like I'm just not going to think about that?
It was kind of like, I'm not going to think about that.
Okay.
I'm curious, but
Right.
I still needed to mature in the spiritual life and kind of grow in life of prayer, and that's really where the call from Christ solidified. That I just fell in love with praying in front of the Blessed Sacrament, going to daily Mass, and attending Bible studies. So that was like the lead-in. I kept on praying and discerning, and yeah, the call never left, and so I got to follow this,
Right.
and I did.
Right.
Here I am.
Right.
Yeah.
So could you have, I don't think I've ever had a priest come in and tell a story that it came from a different diocese. Could you have gone back to your former diocese and gone through there?
I could have, yeah.
Okay.
But it was kind of funny because when I first started looking into what seminary is all about and what the priesthood is, and I didn't know what a diocese was and how that really worked.
That is funny because there's a lot of Catholics who would say the same thing.
No, for sure. And so at that time, though, I was searching, and I remember I went on a few seminary visits with the Diocese of Sioux Falls. That we went up to the St. John Vianney College Seminary, that's where I ended up. So it started with just being in South Dakota, being in the Diocese of Sioux Falls, and that was just my first initial exposure to what seminary was like, and with these other guys who were discerning.
Right.
And at a certain point, okay, I guess there's another diocese out there. That's where I grew up at.
Right.
And I talked to the vocation director a little bit, but it really came down to, again, Father Sean Haggerty. He got the application in my hand first, and it was in location, and it really made sense. Just I had friends here, and just, I knew more of the priests here, and I've always been happy being part of the brotherhood in seminary, and also then now the brotherhood of priests of the diocese.
Right. Well, we're glad you stuck around here because
I am too.
We
Yes.
need all the help we can get. Okay, so how did your family react when you told them you were going to go to seminary? Did they see that coming?
I think they saw that coming, but they were shocked. They did not see that. That was definitely not on the radar when I started college,
Right.
And they didn't really kind of see how that. Oh, I would, eventually leave college and enter seminary. But then they've always been very supportive, and
Good.
they've really kind of probably seen me grow into that role. growing faith.
Good. Because that can be, because sometimes it's not easy for families.
Yes.
So, but thankfully you have brothers who will have children. So, because a lot of times it's that, but I want grandchildren.
Yes.
Well, but this is even better.
Yes.
I think. And I'm sure a lot of parents come to that. They're like, oh yeah, you're right. So, I assume your parents were here for ordination.
They were,
I
yes.
believe I saw them out there. Yeah.
And
How was that day for them?
it was great. I think they were, that's super, super happy for me. It was their first priestly ordination. Of course, they came to my diaconate one.
Oh, sure.
So they're familiar with, how things run.
Yep.
But yeah, they were very happy, very proud of me. And I was very blessed to have them there and much of my family there as well.
Yeah, good. If you're just joining us, we are talking to Father Mitchell McLaughlin about his call to the priesthood. And we're going to just kind of dive into a little bit of what seminary was like and what you're hoping for in the future. So were there some real challenges in seminary for you, or what was that like?
Oh, of course. Yeah, I guess the challenges of studying kind of a new subject, going to philosophy, that's always a challenge, but putting in the effort, I found it very rewarding and enriching of my own spiritual life, and just the way of living, became a lot happier thinking about these big questions. But yeah, the studies were a challenge, and always have been. Just got to put in the effort. So
that's okay though, because I think sometimes you work harder for it then, don't you think? Yeah. Did you have any fear going into seminary?
There's definitely the fear of the unknown. I had this thought, this feeling, this call from God, but how does that really play out, and what goes into being a seminarian? Kind of had to learn that, and since I already have done 3 years, I was a little bit older.
Sure.
Like the class I was graduating from the college, they were my same age, but I was kind of entering in with all these younger kids who were just 18 and 19.
Yep. That had to be a little tough.
It was a little tough, but it's also very humbling to know that I shouldn't think more of myself just because I'm older. Right. There's really great guys there that are younger, but they're also very holy and
right. I was going to say that men. They're usually more. I mean, they're regular people, but they're usually a little more serious about what they're doing if they're going to be there. So yeah, good. What was the best part of seminary?
Yes, the best part is probably the brotherhood that exists. You'll probably hear that a lot from different ones, but especially there was a unique charism and gift from the guys from Sioux Falls. How we've kind of been together. You guys have come and gone. They've discerned out, or they've stayed through, and that has been a very rewarding and very blessed part. Yeah, especially for the men from Sioux Falls. Yeah, but I've also enjoyed growing into that field of study, philosophy and theology. Again, yes, rewarding and very much. It's awesome.
Did the three of you who were just ordained go to the same seminary?
We did at different parts. We had different routes to end up at the same place. Okay. So when I entered, I went to St. John Vianney with Father Zach Schaeff-Bauer, and then he was in Rome for 3 years in a major seminary, but then I entered St. Paul Seminary with Father Nick Heyer. Okay. And so then we were 3 years together, but then Zach came back and then finished his last year at the St. Paul Seminary. So we all...
So all three of you graduated there?
Yes.
Oh,
yes.
That's really nice.
Yeah.
It's nice to have that camaraderie with the three of you. And hopefully you'll be a support to each other, even though you're not in the same areas as you go through your priesthood.
We're definitely looking forward to staying in touch and keeping up with each other. Yeah. And another maybe kind of interesting fun fact is that when I first entered as a freshman at USD, I joined a Focus student-led Bible study, and it was Nick Heyer, who was I think a second-year senior, who led that Bible study. But then so we eventually we go kind of go our separate ways. He graduated, worked for a bit, did Focus, but then we ended up in the same class in seminary. Right. So that was really unique.
You're like, hey.
Yeah, I know you.
I know you. Yeah. That's really good. Okay, so let's move over to ordination. Is there something from your ordination day that stands out?
Yeah, there's maybe two things. One, very grace-filled. The other, very, very human. So during the Litany of the Saints, and when we were prostrated laying prostrate, I think I tied some part of my vestment a little too tight, and so my hands started to become like numb and
Oh.
tingly. And so I haven't looked at the video yet. I don't know if I want to, but I'm kind of shifting around, make sure there's like blood flow there. I'm like, God, what's happening? I don't think it's the Holy Spirit, so I gotta do something.
I need to fix this.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm just glad it wasn't your leg. So when you stood back up, you'd be like a little wobbly.
Tip over. But there was grace, for every saint that was, we were asking for their intercession.
Right.
It's like, okay, I'm put this distraction behind me
Mm-hmm.
and pray for a certain grace with that saint.
Right.
So, yeah.
I've always wondered if there might be little distractions like that when you're lying on the floor. Either something is very painful or something's falling asleep. And
I mean, it's very uncomfortable, but
Right.
that's part of,
that's the point.
that's the point. Yep. Yep.
Okay. Where'd you say your first mass?
At the cathedral. So
You did? Okay.
Yes. The cathedral has been kind of my de facto home parish.
Nice.
And Father Morgan has been very generous and kind of adopted me as a seminarian. And I've gone there for various masses throughout the year, but especially for the Easter Vigil.
Sure. Oh, okay. Sure.
Mm-hmm.
So were you able to go back home and do mass in the Quad Cities?
I was, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so I about a week after, I actually went back to the parish that I grew up at, where I went to Catholic grade school,
Mm-hmm.
and in fact, I covered for the week for the priest,
Oh,
for the pastor
nice.
there, because the Diocese of Davenport, where I would have been, they had they called it the June Institute. It's kind of part of like their clergy days.
Oh,
So all the
sure.
clearly in the town were
they
we're all
really
together.
needed you.
And so well, I'll be here and I'll
Right.
love to say mass and there's many people there praying for me. So
Right. Oh, that's nice.
shout out to them that they've been very, very kind.
Yeah. Was there something that you were nervous about or that was really difficult about saying your first mass?
Yeah, I guess I definitely just nervous. Like this is the first time I'm in charge. Before I've always been the priest. I've been a deacon at the side of the altar.
Right.
I've been serving mass, and it is very different.
Mm-hmm.
I made one mistake that was very a newbie mistake.
Mm-hmm.
I said one part of the Roman canon that was supposed to only be prayed during the Easter octave.
That's no
But
big
it's like,
deal,
yeah,
right?
little practice, never hurts. But I knew like something was off because although had a bunch of my priest friends like concelebrating with me, and it's like I think they should be joining me now. But why is it so silent, back there? And oh wait, I'm not supposed to say this, so we'll skip. Yeah,
That's okay. Even the bishop messes up still
Yep.
on
We're-
TV mass.
yeah,
So
we're
it's
still human.
going to happen. Yes, yes. What has been the biggest blessing of your journey so far?
So far, I mean, a month in, it probably has been saying the mass, and
Mm-hmm.
connected with that, saying mass for all these friends and supporters people have supported me, have gotten known throughout the years of seminary formation.
Right.
So yeah, the different various religious orders, sisters that have been praying for me,
Mm-hmm.
friends back up in the Twin Cities, and at the teaching parish, Immaculate Conception in Lonsdale. Those people have been very, very good, very kind to me. Of
Good.
course, back in the Quad Cities.
Yep. Sounds like you have lots of support, which is great.
Mm-hmm.
Is there anything that you are worried about or that you think will be challenging as you go into your priesthood?
Yeah, I think I'm very familiar with the Mass, but preaching and then doing Masses for weddings and funerals, like that's a whole new kind of extra added element. And they're all very particular, to the couple or to the person being buried. And that's still kind of unfamiliar, and looking forward to, trying that out and entering into it. But it's still kind of new and unfamiliar at this point.
Thankfully, you'll have a great priest to learn from,
Yes.
Father Andy Dickinson up in Aberdeen, where you'll be headed to join Father Kapperman and Father Schulte.
Yes.
So you guys are going to have a great group up there.
Oh yeah, I'm really
What a
looking forward
blessed
to it.
town.
Yes. Yes.
Good. We have about a minute left. So I think what I really want to know from you is if a young man came to you and said, hey, I think I might be hearing called to the priesthood, what would you tell him?
Follow it.
Okay.
You probably are being called at least to seminary. That's the place where you can discern. That's the place where you can excel in the life of prayer, and in prayer, that's where you hear God's call.
Right.
Yeah.
Are there any saints that you're counting on help from
Oh yeah, I
as you're going?
was able to obtain a relic of Saint John Vianney, patron saint of the priests.
Oh, yes.
Especially Saint Thomas Aquinas, Saint Catherine of Siena, Saint Elizabeth of the Trinity. Those on one of my bookmark holy cards. Those are my saints that I.
Yep. And you'll probably have a couple start stalking you. I would
Oh,
say
yes,
saints kind of start to stalk me at times when I need them. And maybe you've experienced that already.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
Saint Catherine was like the recent addition to the posse.
To the group.
Yes, yeah.
To the posse. I often call them my saint posse.
Saint posse, yep.
Yes. We all need a saint posse, don't
Oh
we?
yes. Oh yes. Yeah, they're out there looking out for us.
Yes. All right. Well, thank you so much for coming in
Thank you,
today,
Renee.
Father
Yeah,
McLaughlin,
thank you.
Father Mitch.
Yeah.
Please pray for him as he moves
Please.
through his journey. So thank you.
Thank you.
All right. If you haven't found us already at Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, or YouTube, you can find us at SF Diocese anytime. And of course, we are now on Rumble as well. That's it for us today. Hope you'll join us again next week for more Catholic Views.